Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by Yuriy Demidko, CIO at DP Fox Ventures. Yuriy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Matthew. Excited to be here.
Thanks for coming on. Before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know about hackers in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of when someone's gotten past theirs. That's where Cyberlinks comes in. We've partnered with the best cybersecurity companies in the world to be able to provide our clients with the best solutions at the best prices. So whether it's managed SIM, SOC, EDR, MDR, XDR, you name it, we'll help you find the best solution at the best price. Find out more at cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. Yuriy, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about DP Fox Ventures and your role there as CIO?
So it's kind of, it's a great question. It's a unique company. We have a number of different avenues that we go in. So we do everything from automotive, like automotive dealerships, to power sports locations, if you get a little more adventurous with it. And then we actually get a little bit into sports, fashion, and the resort. Funny as it is. So it's a pretty diversified portfolio. The largest business is our automotive group, Fox Motors. We are, I believe, the 44th largest group in the country now. And what's really unique about that is the entire group is in Michigan. So literally every store location is in Michigan. With 44 locations. So it gets pretty interesting. But yeah, it's a very diversified company. And my role, if I were to describe it in like one word, it would be innovation. And that's kind of where it's interesting, because I think and I know you speak with a lot of CIOs, I looked at some of your past conversations, and what I found is I feel like every CIO is kind of forging their own path as to what the CIO actually does, versus like if you have like a CTO, which is a more traditional professional, or a CFO or something of that nature, where this position has already evolved and kind of become a lot more normalized over the years. The CIO, I feel like it's not like, I don't think I've yet to meet a CIO that's been that looked at a job description and then applied to be a CIO, and now they're a CIO. It's almost every single one I've met, the position was created for that person because they had some other tie with the company or whatever it was. So like from my end of it, I before I became a corporate stooge, I was actually an engineer. So I did full stack development, but I made it fun, like I could actually show it to people in like a fun way, which is my claim to fame personally. So, and then that kind of, that really evolved my love of data, my love of development in general, and my love of innovation, because I think some of the most innovative things on earth have been software related. So that's why I decided to go into software engineering. And that's kind of how I landed in my role. And I just continued to push the boundaries, especially for automotive. It's really cool how many directions you can push the boundaries in. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, because when you say automotive, are you talking automotive dealerships? What part of the automotive industry are we talking about, and what kind of innovation?
So primarily what I deal is with dealerships. So we have, the group is just a bunch of automotive dealerships. And when I say innovations, I mean, there's a lot. So two of the biggest things going on in automotive right now, it has to do, one with data and the other one with AI. Now, I'm fairly certain AI is a big thing that's going on in like 100% of industries out there right now, whether you're in tech, automotive, or in the restaurant business, AI is on the forefront of it all. But the other thing, the big thing that's happening in automotive, and let me kind of explain a little bit about like the automotive industry, and specifically dealer world, as we like to call it in general. We have a crystal ball comparatively to other industries. Reason being is because dealer world generally lags behind every other industry in innovation. in a lot of ways. And what that empowers you with when I say crystal ball is you're able to see what has failed somewhere else and not do that, or see what's worked and improve upon that. So why do I tell you this? Well, what we have going on right now is there is a big push around CDP, customer data platforms. So in other words, a consolidated data set that's been cleaned up so it can then be leveraged for artificial intelligence, marketing, virtually anything. Now, what's funny about that is in the retail, for example, this concept has been around for only 20 to 30 years, maybe 40. So it's very, very new, obviously. But in automotive, we're very data rich, but the cleanliness, the hygiene of that data is just not there. And so that's like the big push right now in this industry is to get, first of all, get ownership of the data. A lot of things in dealer world, especially, has been reliant on vendors. So now we're really kind of, we already, the group I work with, obviously we have an internal data lake and all that because of me, and are just forward thinking, but a lot of groups don't. So a lot of moving toward that and cleaning up all this data from all these different data sources. Um, the other thing is, of course, AI. So up until generative AI really became mainstream in like, I would say what, like 2020, 2021. um what was the hot thing? I think in a lot of businesses, frankly, there was of course machine learning, but there was also business intelligence. So business intelligence was really, really big. And the parallel I like to use is, so in automotive, a lot of times you would have somebody come in and they'd have the new BI tool, and it would be like this pretty BI tool, bouncing graphs, the charts, there is the guy jumping. It is beautiful dashboard. And you see this demo and you're like, man, I will be able to make like the greatest, business decisions ever. I mean, you're like, everything is solved, no more reports, everything is all set. They bring your demo is great, you get it, you put it up, you connect it to your database, everything is bouncing, it's working exactly the way you want it. You look at it and every number is wrong. Crap. So, what happened? And what happened was your data set was dirty. You have a dirty data set, garbage in, garbage out happened. So it's really beautiful, eloquently displayed garbage. Now we reached the era of generative AI. And now it's like this whole concept that I described with BI, with AI, it is exacerbated times like 1,000. You take like this greatest model. We've got like, you got Anthropic, you have OpenAI, you put up your own Olama instance, whatever it is. You're stoked. I mean, this thing, you hooked in your little data set, you got a little RAG retrieval augmented generation thing going, everything is working. You're like, we're gonna hook this up to our main thing. I mean, this is like game changing. And then you ask it the first question, or you have it like extrapolate something off of the data. And again, it gives you the most eloquently worded, beautiful explanation of everything. It's good, except it's complete garbage. Like it's wrong. And then of course everybody goes, "This AI is a piece of crap. It doesn't work." It's like, well, it has nothing to do with AI. It's the fact that your data is, if it's sitting on top of a bunch of duplicated, non-cohesive data, not normalized. This is what you're going to get. So that's what we're dealing with in automotive now, as far as innovation is concerned, is getting the data cleaned up so you can really now. There is a lot of cool AI things happening as well, which we can talk about, but that's kind of the big one.
I love it. Well, actually, I'd like to. So one of my favorite, kind of, I guess in Oprah Winfrey's expression, like one of my new favorite things is Dark Trace. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's an AI. It's AI for email security, right? And it exactly what you'd think. Like why? Like obviously, we want our email going through and being filtered, both coming in and going out through generative AI and an LLM, because it makes perfect sense. Like understanding the user, how they work, so they're not sending. Obviously, you're not sending 1,500 emails all of a sudden at 2 a.m. That's unusual. So it stops, stuff like that, right? Obvious, great uses of
Mhm.
AI. So I think that's such a great example in the security space. I'd love to hear kind of what you're looking at in terms of, AI innovation, on what you've got. If we're sticking with the automotive side, let's go automotive.
So Automotive, one of the I think there is like the biggest one I see right now, and I think this is like a great use case is internet leads. So somebody clicks the thing on the website or auto trade, whatever, any kind of channel, and you get a lead for that. Well, the big thing now is what if you hook an LLM with which is hooked into your inventory and all this stuff, and have it start engaging with that lead. So traditionally, this has always been a problem in the automotive industry where number one, when do people usually like to reach out, for like look at cars? They're not doing it 9 to 5 because they got this thing called a job.
Yep.
They're doing it after hours. Well, you're closed at that time. So number one, you're no longer meeting the customer. And this is not even automotive. I think this is virtually anything. I mean, this can be parallel to any industry. You want to meet the customer where and when they are at.
Yep.
And large language models create that capability. So now if a person, if somebody's spouse is now sleeping and you like to spend money and they would never let you look at this car, but it's 2 a.m. and they're sleeping. So now it's time. This is the time. So you go and you click on this thing, you can start getting engagement right at 2 a.m, getting your questions answered, doing what you want to do when you're able to do it, which is huge. Now, the other thing too, think about, dealerships, for example, are closed on Sundays. So if you reached out Saturday evening, you won't hear anything back until Monday. Well, with this, that's no longer the case. So this internet engagement, like internet lead engagement, is huge. Now, as a part of that, it's not just engagement. Up to this point, of course, you're going to get an automated message. Hey, thank you for reaching out, blah, 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 blah. Well, now you're getting highly subjective messaging. So this is depending on what you're looking at. If you say something, it will continue to build off of that. So in other words, it's not only just sending you a form letter, it is actually building off of the conversation you're having with it and giving you clear answers on that. And when it gets to a point where it can no longer answer, or you want to talk to numbers, you want to get more information about financing, then you will kick it over to the sales team. Now, the benefit of that is it'll do it intelligently, meaning it will figure out when it's time to kick it over to the sales team.
Right.
Now, on the sales side, if you think about this, it's much more difficult to get engagement with a lead that is cold. So you just came in, you kind of reach out, they may have just clicked something, and then they proceed going about their day, and they may come back in a couple of weeks. Well, now this is an engaged lead that has been speaking to your sales assistant, whatever you want to call it, and it's a warm lead. And of course, a warm lead is much easier to sell than a cold lead. So you get that.
So I guess the natural progression there is, at what point do you see it being the full sales cycle, going through that, AI sales assistant or salesperson, right? Where it can just go from they entered something on the website, they started talking, boom, boom, started hitting numbers. Great. We can do this price, does the negotiation, handles the financing, does all of it. How far away do you think we are from that? Or is that something that is a little touchy and probably not going to see for some time?
Well, it's of course depends who you speak to. Of course, it's very touchy, but it's touchy on the more on a personal level. That being said, if this was like 5 years ago, where generative AI wasn't mainstream and we did not have a new model that comes out every 2 months, which just revolutionarily changes the previous version of said model, I would say, we're 5, 10 years out. But frankly, if it continues to evolve the way it's evolving, I don't think we're that far off. I don't know the exact timetable on it, but I think we will be in a fundamentally different place within 2 years than we are now. And we are in a astronomically different place than we were 4 years ago. I think we are in a whole, if you look at, like, let's speak OpenAI, for example. If you look at GPT 3.5 comparatively to 4.0, comparatively to 5.0, these are like foundationally different. I mean, when you look from like a okay, so I'm going to go a little nerd just a little bit. If you
Do
look
it.
from like a coding standpoint, you look like at like Anthropic, from Claude Sonnet to Claude Opus. I mean, Opus is insane. It is insane. You literally. I mean, if you prompt it properly, that thing will get you 80, 90% of the app. And
Yeah.
then you just kind of gotta, get in there. But anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. Because I mean, straight up, I was able to put up an entire Terraform infrastructure, like an AWS infrastructure, within, I'd say, like an hour and a half. And
Crazy.
that's dude, that used to be like, you could get a job
Yeah.
literally just dealing with your infrastructure, like your cloud infrastructure. That's a job. And
Yeah.
this thing can just kind of do it. And that was always that's the funniest thing about it. Like, so as a dev, I was full stack dev. So I love data. I can data model. Like I can speak SQL, but I think better than English. And like I could do that. I worked with like big data, so like Apache Cassandra, that kind of stuff. And I love data. I loved API integrations. I thought front end was cool. I know React really well, like that kind of thing. But like cloud infrastructure was never like, oh man, what I really want to do is like put up like that was just not, that's my thing. I'd prefer somebody else to put it up and let me just, build the next cool app. And so like when I worked at Apple, we kind of shifted over to like from what we had before to AWS, and then I was elected to be the one in charge of the cloud infrastructure, and this was before the LLMs and all that, and this was kind of a pain. Like I was like just not a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Never wanted to be like a network admin or something. And what's funny is now I can do that with just exactly completely like multiplies your capabilities, because now it's no longer like, oh my God, I got to read all these docs and it's a whole, you can just put it up. So it's insane. I mean, so yeah, I mean, to your point, I don't, the full sales cycle, frankly, Matthew, it can be 6 months, it could be 3 years, but man, this stuff is evolving at a rate that like remember like the early 2000s, the .com and internet in general, like late 90s, early 2000s. This thing is evolving like 100 times faster than that did, and that was fast.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a great point. And I think the natural progression to that is where do we go beyond that, okay, fine, that's just sales, right? So even in the automotive industry, where else do you apply that, right? And in the back office and in all the other areas, I mean, how much more efficient can things get before you have very few people working at the dealership other than people moving cars around?
yeah, I think at the current moment, I feel like generative AI really is not. I mean, it can replace certain positions, but for the most part, I think it creates ridiculous levels of efficiency. Where before, like if you even let's say at the executive level, let's just say at the executive level. So if you're a CEO, CIO, COO, let's just take the simplest thing on earth. You write a bunch of emails and you make announcements. So announcements, I'm sure you've done announcements before, like I've done company-wide announcements before. This stuff can take a few hours to do. You draft it, you want to make sure the tone's a certain way, you want to make sure the proper ideas are, relayed in a fashion that you're looking to relay them. It's a process, and frankly, an announcement that, let's say, is a couple of paragraphs long could take over an hour to craft, if not longer, between proofreading and just ideation and all that. Well, with using an LLM, you can literally take a tool like WhisperFlow, freaking dictate kind of what you have going on, already have an original draft, and then talk to it like an editor. That right there could save you hours. And frankly, if you have a large organization with multiple executives, imagine if everybody does it. It could save hours upon hours. But then take it lower. from a clerk standpoint, imagine it analyzing your expenses, your invoices, things that are coming in. You can already do this, and you can really like it can identify outliers. Like, hey, we're noticing snow plowing has gone up by 15% year over year. What like these little minutia, but like if you have like for example, if you have a company with 50 locations and snow plowing is up 15%, how much are you paying for snow plowing? That could be a negotiating point, and frankly, you drop 5 to 7% off of that 15 that went up. That's huge. That's all bottom line right there.
Yes.
So like it's crazy, and that's not automotive. That's just you.
Mhm.
You can do this anywhere. The other thing, imagine small businesses. Imagine their communication. So small business usually, you have an owner, maybe you have a couple of employees. The owner is usually doing any kind of customer outreach or something of that nature. They are now empowered with the ability to get like enterprise grade communication capabilities where things are crafted a certain way. If you have your past marketing material, imagine loading all of that and having it leveraged so your future marketing material matches your brand voice. This is like you pay agencies hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do this. A cool one that we did was I took all of our reviews over 2 years, like customer reviews on Google, all the different things, put them put them into an AI model and had it identify patterns of like where people are happy, well, where people are unhappy, like just general things, and give me a full consulting like report of, hey, this is where this is where there's room for improvement. Here's suggestions of how to improve this. And I mean, you act on that and you can catch like some things are like, oh man, this would be like infrastructural changes and you got to figure all this out, but other things are like, dude, this is like low-hanging fruit. I mean, we can do this in like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
but you just didn't know it was a problem across, so like things like that.
That's awesome. No, and I think that's really great because as you do scale and get larger, the things that you may have done when you were a small business, where let's say every Google review, you see it, you respond to it, you then implement change based off of that. With 40 stores, you're no longer the size where you can look at every Google review and make changes. Probably not happening, but to be able to simply have AI go through and generate that, beautiful. I love that. I
The
mean,
the other thing, let me kind of throw another one at you. Think about vertical integration. So this is a concept that I like is near and dear to my heart. So vertical integration. You look at a company, you look at any big tech company, right? Forget automotive, big tech company. Your Googles, your Apples, Meta, whatever. So Apple, the reason Apple is so successful is because they create an ecosystem that sits on the foundation of vertical integration. Like why did they go to their own chips? Like for the MacBooks. It's because that was like one of the final straws of we don't want to rely on Intel anymore.
yep.
So vertical integration used to be the concept of giants. You have to be very large with a lot of money to be able to truly accomplish vertical integration. Because every step, if you any kind of business, if you go to try to vertically integrate, every step requires an expert or a set of experts or a set of companies to accomplish. And for you to replace that, you're literally replacing businesses. Like I'm going to replace this business, this business, this business. Well, with AI, you're in the situation where you already have a lot of the experts there without having to get for your, very, very expensive $20 a month ChatGPT or whatever your flavor is subscription. You can like, hey, I want to know more about, transporting vehicles across the country. I know nothing about this, but I bet you if I right now typed it in, could give you a very good enough explanation to get you started on how to effectively, figure out the logistics for transporting vehicles across the country.
Yeah.
And that was impossible. So like I think vertical integration, it's Sam Altman just said in an interview, I think we are going to see like a billion or trillion-dollar company of one person
Yeah.
because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
Um
For sure. I mean, we've never been I mean, super powered, right? I mean, i- this is incredible. You now are, we had an organization on here. We had the CIO, and they had something like 77, I think it was 77 developers that they were working with and, in-house. And then thanks to AI, they dropped that down to seven, and those seven far outperformed the 77 once they started, leveraging AI. It was just night and day. And so they drop it in by a factor of 10 and increase productivity. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that's supercharged.
And that's the thing. I think we are at a point where it gives you superpowers. Now, what worries me about it is new talent. So new talent, I think, is a real problem there because now you take like for a person like me, I'm all set because I'm ingrained. I can just continue to capitalize on it. I'm a senior person. Even if I wasn't a CIO, I'd be a senior developer, and I would be. But what about people getting out of school? Like now, the junior stuff is not really needed, which creates it really creates a bit of a conundrum, which is something I always kind of keep thinking about and worry about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because my daughter is a junior at University of Maryland. She's studying computer science and finance. She loves the computer science side. She's okay with the finance side, but she loves the computer science. And she's a really good coder. Like from the day she's
Mhm.
just designed for it. She gets, she really into all the details. So it works really well for her. And I think interestingly, she spent 2 summers at interning at Bloomberg as a computer science, in their, whatever, as it's a programmer there. And it's really interesting to see, some of her peers struggle to get internships and, and interviews. It's not that easy out there, especially now that there is so much AI. And it's interesting because all of the interviews are really focused around, can you actually code and do you actually understand what's happening
Yeah.
here? Or do you just run to ChatGPT and GitHub and grab stuff and stick it together, which I think a lot of people are doing because they've got this superpower at their fingertips. They're like, why do I need to know it? Wow. You got to know the stuff to be able to really, to use your superpowers well. You have to know it. So I think you're right, though. It does create this interesting area at the early stages where now that there are so many people with these superpowers, the big companies start hiring, more senior people. They don't need the junior, developers so much.
Hmm.
So what's that do for the industry? I think it pushes those people out from, instead of going to, the big companies who are going to use fewer. I think that creates more startups. And so you're going to have people, these kids are going to have to, instead of saying, I'm going to go work for Google and that be their dream job, there's going to be a lot more, I need to go work for a startup and, or I'm going to start up my own thing. I think there's going to be more of that because a startup can use one person and you can do it all. You can do your cloud infrastructure. You can do all of it, boom, 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 from one
Yep.
person versus, uh, you know, going versus a Google. So I think that's where it goes, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm curious what you think.
That's a really interesting take. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I do think we'll definitely see a lot more startups. We are like in automotive, we're seeing a lot. I think the other thing you will see too is a lot of crossing of the industries. So what I've started to notice is a lot of tech people. I mean, I'm a tech person, but a lot of tech people are coming over into industries that they weren't in before. Usually they kind of stuck to tech. Now you'll see it in automotive, you'll see it in retail, you'll see it wherever. You will see them start crossing over because again, the deficiency that you would have had is not there anymore.
Yeah.
So there is like that's why I like to say AI is like a bridge right now. There is like when you understand something, let's say 90 to 95% of the way, but it's like impossible to really do anything with it because that 10 to 5 to 10% just prevents you. Well, it fills that gap, and you're like, all right, I can actually walk into this hallway that I know nothing about, leveraging the skills that I have in this completely different industry. So I mean, I think we'll see a lot more startups. I think we'll see a lot more like Amazon sellers. Because, like, let's say you wanted to start doing some kind of e-commerce, you know nothing about selling on Amazon, but let's say you know e-com from like a website standpoint. Well, you can get schooled up really quick on, hey, this is the things you got to watch out for, account health, so on and so forth. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more people getting into other things that they've never got into. So getting out of school, yeah, I mean, I think your take is really good because yeah, it also like, hey, the other thing I think what it does is you could never do this up to this point is when you're getting out of school, I'm sure we both had this in college. You're like you start college and you're like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. Well, you can have AI help you like kind of figure like, well, what do you like? What do you do? What kind of things are you feeling in school right
Yeah.
now? And kind of point you in that direction. That was always very difficult, to be honest, especially like K through 12 going into, first couple years of undergrad.
Yep.
So
No, totally. I think you're right because even now the college, the career counselors at universities, um, I think it's tough, and I think that a people will have a better time with AI, kind of just talking through it and exploring some possibilities. Be like, wow, that's great. And I think that's going to be far more effective than your college counselor. Not to kind of crap
you
on all
just
the college
lost
counselors
you
out there.
lost every viewer
I
from
Yeah,
college count. That's
I
gone now.
lost that
So
college counselor who was following. They're like, you know what? Forget this guy.
yeah, this
He's
guy
an idiot
like
anyway. Unfollow. That's fine. You're not wrong. So so okay. So I tell you what, I told you my Oprah's my new favorite thing. What's your new favorite thing?
my new favorite thing in terms of what? Like
Technology. It could be anything.
um yeah, I like so much stuff. It's kind of difficult. You know what? You know what I like? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. This is nothing to do with anything we talked about, but like I like this kind of stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
this the whoop.
Whoop. Yep. Those are great.
I think evolution in like biometric
Yep.
I think that and it continues to get more ridiculous. I mean, I'm waiting for them to be like we can do you're gonna feel a little prick on your arm here and then we're gonna do a full biometric and like what's the company remember
Not the
what's the company
23andMe, but the one that was a fraud.
yes the fraud yeah
Um,
you know what I'm
Everybody
talking
knows what we're talking about. Go ahead. Yep.
yeah, you know what I'm talking. Like, do that, but literally just like, hey, don't eat for the next 6 hours. Then you feel a prick, and then you're done.
Yeah.
I think the way evolution in preventive medicine because of this, because like having devices like this, I think it's really interesting because imagine how many things your Apple Watch telling you go to the hospital
Yep.
when you're just kind of standing there, it's all cool. And then your Apple Watch says, go to the hospital. You go to the hospital and the doctor tells you, this watch just saved your life. Like, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That I would say that's kind of my new favorite thing because you can get really I don't really get like super into it because I think some people are just like I gotta fill my bars and I gotta like do the green and I don't know about all, but I think it allows you to really like concentrate on like your holistically how do you feel, and if you have a problem you can actually approach it without even going to a doctor and be like, okay, well, the issue is, let's say you have trouble sleeping. You can look at this stuff and it has like insights out of it, AI driven insights saying, well, it looks like you sleep this many hours. 30% of your sleep is not quite REM or whatever. So, hey, you should go to sleep at this time to kind of do that or do this before you sleep and it improves it. So that's kind of my new favorite thing.
Nice. So it's not that I think I've had so many people talk to so many people about the Whoop, and the big beef is like, obviously I got to stop drinking if I'm gonna get better sleep. And their big eye-opening moment was like seeing their numbers when they have a drink, even one drink, and it's like, you slept like shit tonight, last night. Or like they got like, and they're like, oh crap. I mean, they're dialing back their alcohol to the
So,
point where they're like, to where they're unhappy. I'm like, but you're gonna be happier once you actually
So,
stop
so,
drinking
so,
and
so,
feel
so,
better.
Matthew, there is a problem there. Okay, look,
Uh,
so my name is Yuri. Okay, I'm
yeah,
from Eastern
exactly.
Europe. Okay, that's like a claim to fame. I can't do that.
Yeah.
that's like an icebreaker because if we ever end up at a bar and I go, oh, I like, oh, you're like, oh, I want like a whiskey sour, so, and I'm like, well, I want a vodka tonic, of course,
Yeah.
and then everybody's like, oh, I can't, that's like an icebreaker. I can't do that. So for my professional growth, I have
Exactly.
to maintain that. This is purely for profession. I don't even enjoy it,
No,
but
of
for
course not.
professional growth, I have to do that. It's a pretty serious matter there. So
It
you got to
is.
take it with a grain of salt. The whoop doesn't understand my heritage. And
Yeah.
plus, my relatives are gonna start. I mean, I show up to like one of these like parties, and I'm like, "Oh no, thank you." And then people start. It creates interpersonal problems. You got to watch out for that. You
Yeah,
can
suddenly you got to find not just new friends, but an entirely new family because you've been kicked
you,
out of the family. Yeah, I'm German and Irish, so I know exactly how it goes, and the
yeah.
Eastern
You you
Europeans, they're very
you can't
similar.
be out there. You can't be disgracing your heritage. Is what I'm. There is things the whoop doesn't understand the
Yeah.
background, and so it's important. They
So
should
how
put
does
that
that
in there.
work with
Like, what's your
yours?
background?
Yeah, not to get too personal, but how's that working with your sleep? Do you
I'm
actually
gonna be
sleep okay?
honest. So I sleep like a baby. Okay, I sleep like a
No,
teenager.
according
Like,
to the Whoop.
oh, the whoop. We don't talk to that. The whoop doesn't know.
Whoop doesn't know what he's
Well, so
talking
yeah,
about.
so frankly, yeah, yesterday it said I actually had really good sleep, and I had a couple of drinks yesterday.
Oh,
So,
nice. There you go.
so no, I wasn't like obviously like oh man, but like I had like a drink or two, and it said that my sleep was pretty good.
Okay.
So, but when we disagree, I just take it off, throw it in the corner, and let it let it figure out what it did wrong,
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of
the
thing.
it's the here's to you, here's to me. If we ever disagree, F you, here's to me, kind of with
Pretty
your
much.
Whoop.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of contention, but we work through it. It's
That's
all about
awesome.
being able to work through your problems.
Yeah,
So
100%. Totally agree. Yuri, this has been an absolute blast. Loved having you on. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and more about DP Fox Ventures?
Yeah, so me, pretty easy. Go on LinkedIn. I like to post, and I always have kind of like my crazy ideas that come out. So I enjoy also. I love podcasts. I do some talks in the industry, that kind of thing. I enjoy that, and if anybody ever just wants to chat and exchange ideas, that's like I do love that because it's truly amazing what you can get out of conversations with people. You'll hear one little thing, next thing you know, you're like making changes in the company as a result of like a random like that hallway conversation you had with somebody. um DP Fox Ventures, we're a little more low key. I mean, if you want to know more about Fox Motors, you go to foxmotors.com. If you need a car, we can hook you up.
Love it.
But we do a lot of community outreach, that kind of stuff. You can catch that on our social media on virtually every platform. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out, and always happy to get you a car. Just have a conversation about tech or life or leadership. That's the other thing. I think leadership is the other big thing that I think leadership today is evolving rather significantly, and I love that's a passion of mine as well.
That's
So
fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. And until next time, Yuri.
awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.